I want to have a quick look at how a traditional charting pattern, such as the head and shoulders pattern, can fit into Elliott wave analysis. I'm going to look at two charts now. I'm not going to go over detail of what I am looking to happen overall. Please see the weekend video for more detail. But the two pairs are Euro Australian dollar, and I'll just go over this. There's a head and shoulders pattern here, and Euro pound. There's a head and shoulders pattern here. Now, I don't look for this, but after a while, you just tend to see this unwillingly. Basically, it just appears, and I want to explain how I can factor it into a look at impulse and corrective movement and general Elliott wave analysis. Starting with Euro Australian dollar, I am expecting a down move in this for a number of reasons, and I want to have a look at how this can work out. The reason, I want to look at the likelihood of how a head and shoulders pattern will fit into this. Looking at this chart, I am expecting a down move here based on the larger picture on the weekly and based on local price movement here. For example, the price movement here is just 3 waves up. And so I was bearish on this anyway before noticing a head and shoulders pattern, but now I see it. I want to explain that it is more likely to work out on a down move than the euro pound, because head and shoulders patterns do tend to fail quite often. Now, given that this is only 3 waves here, and on the 4-hour chart I explained that this is a 5-wave impulse, and that this clearly is a corrective pattern. I am looking for this to sell off. Now, any move up towards 200 or a bit above is absolutely fine, and I would say that this head and shoulders pattern is very likely to play out. And I am looking for a new low beneath the 22 February low, and that is the type of situation where a measurement of the head and shoulders pattern happens to fall in line with the new low I'm looking for, beneath into the 135s or so. So again, I pointed this out on the weekend that it's a good bearish opportunity, and I think the head and shoulders pattern reinforces that because the previous move is corrective in 3 waves. So this is a high likelihood sell opportunity, in my opinion. Now, euro pound has been confusing in the sense that it is in 2 places. It could either be I explained it in the weekend video. And given that this entire setup here is a head and shoulders pattern, what I would say about this without incorporating the wave count overall, I would say that this one is less likely to work than the Euro Australian dollar. On Euro Australian dollar, it's simply a 3-wave move here, and this little downward impulse over the last week or 2 is 5 waves. So you have a setup on the downside and you have a setup against the previous upside move. On euro pound, this head and shoulders pattern is following a series of impulses. There's impulse here, here, and generally this sequence and the beginning of this one, they're all impulses up. And I can also count a small impulse here. So this one, in my opinion, is less likely to work out. I suggested on the weekend not to initiate a new position in this because it is between 2 possible poles. But as long as it's above support and generally within this region, there is a good case for another high to come, also because of expected pound weakness in the near term at least, and expected euro strength in certain pairs. So I do think this one is less likely to work out, and this would be one of those cases where the right shoulder returns to previous wave 4 of wave 3 here, and then moves higher. So between these two, Euro Australian offers the better sell opportunity, in my opinion. And I think this is a good idea of how head and shoulders patterns can work and how they can fail, because they have to be put into perspective. And the perspective on Euro Australian dollar is that it's following a corrective sequence and a downward impulse here on the 4-hour. And on Euro Pound, it's following a series of impulses, and it is also structurally set up for another move higher with the reversion to wave 4 of wave 3 in here. So that is my view on this. I'm not going to take a position on Euro Pound right now, but I am looking to sell Euro Australian dollar. And I will see if I can find an opportunity today or tomorrow. Also, there's Australian dollar news later this week. I think on Thursday there are job numbers. So we may see return of Australian dollar strength as well. Possibly. Another thing to mention on Euro Pound for anyone who watched the weekend videos. On the monthly, it does look like a new high is in store too, because if you count from the low here, there's 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 3, wave 4, and one more high for wave 5 overall to complete a 5-wave impulse from July 2015. That is clearer on the monthly chart. On the weekly chart, which I've been over many times, well, from the daily perspective, it's not as clear if this is 5 or 3 into here. But on the monthly, it looks like it's only 3 into here, and we've had 4 into here. So again, to stress, head and shoulders patterns can work very well, but they are just a visual element which is often too isolated. And when that element is put into the larger composite here, and here on Euro Australian dollar, you have a better view if it's going to work out or not. So that is a view I have. Everything in trading essentially has to be put within a kind of jigsaw puzzle of what happened before and the larger composite picture, and elements have to be melded together basically. So I hope that's interesting, and I hope that we can all get a sell opportunity into, well, at least one of these. Euro Australian dollar is more likely. Also, another thing I should say is that neither one of these has to work out to the downside, or both of them can work out to the downside. I'm just pointing out that one, in my view, is more likely than the other. The Euro Pound is less likely, and Euro Australian dollar right now is much more likely, given the previous wave sequence and the current down wave sequence, the last down wave sequence and the previous up wave sequences, to put it that way. So any questions, let me know, and that is what I'm looking for right now between these two. Okay, bye-bye.